All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are jumping in. We're going to be giving our predictions on the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the Boston Celtics, my Boston Celtics, taking on the Miami Heat. We'll also have the Western Conference Finals predictions up as well in a different video, so make sure to go check that out. It'll probably be posted, I don't know, half hour, an hour after this one, so make sure to go check that out on the channel. But yeah, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to jump in. We're going to watch some of the highlights from the last game, game 6 of the Heat versus Sixers. A couple minutes of those highlights. We'll react to it. Then I'm going to pause, give a little bit of my take on what I think this Miami Heat team can bring to the table in terms of a series against the Celtics. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the Celtics. We'll watch the last couple minutes of the Bucks Celtics highlights, and then we'll go and talk about the, I guess we'll have a little deliberation about what I think about this series. As of right now, in terms of odds, if you are a gambling man, which I am, Celtics right now are minus 175 to win this series. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but minus 175 to win. And if you wanted to take the Heat, it's plus 150 in the series win. But yeah, we might as well jump right into it. Obviously, the Heat beating the Sixers in 6 games here. Winning games 1 and 2, fairly handily, and the Sixers come back. Joel Embiid gets healthy. The Sixers win at home. They win both games at home, 99-79, and then they win 116-108, and then the Heat did not look back after that. They internalized those losses and said, you know what, game 5, let's take it, and let's win this series in Philly in game 6. But let's jump into some of the highlights here, and like I said, we're gonna watch some of these highlights, react to it a little bit, and then I will give you guys my take on really what I think that this Heat team can truly do better than the Celtics. But let's jump right into it. This Heat team will grind, I'll tell you that all day long. This Sixers team almost didn't stand a chance when you think about how much this team grinds versus, the Sixers. This Heat team could just grind out the Sixers no matter what. And, that's a little spoiler alert, something that I think that this Heat team does really, really well. But they are just, way back. I knew that they were going to win this series against the Sixers. I'm sure a lot of people did as well. Jimmy Butler, man. When the game gets big, Jimmy Butler gets bigger. The hell did I just say? I want myself for that. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Little interesting, too, how they've kind of played with their rotation and everything as well. It's interesting. James Harden sulking. Oh, my God. What a guy that just absolutely gave up over and over again, James Harden. And I guess that these highlights were shot on a potato, but hey, I think that was, I don't know, Vincent to Bam Adebayo maybe. See if we can get better quality here, jeez. And one. I'm telling you, man, Jimmy Butler is a different animal in the playoffs. We talk about grinding, everything like that. Holy crap, that man is going to grind. And it's so funny, too, Embiid and everything like that after the game was like, I don't know how we let him go. I'm mad that we let him go, blah, blah, blah. It's funny. Look at the defense. Bam and Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, everyone's swarming the best player, Embiid, on the floor. Bam Adebayo, he was off a little bit in that first series for them, but then all of a sudden, he can make some. Talk about big time players making big time plays. All of a sudden, he just makes these defensive plays where you forget about any struggle he's had for the the beginning portion of that game. So this Heat team, to be completely honest, I already mentioned it, and my biggest thing with them is that they can grind. They will wait you out. They will grind. They won't let you get away with it. I would say game 3 probably was the only time we kind of saw them sort of take a step back and almost accept defeat in this series against the Sixers. I think that's one thing that the Celtics don't have on the Heat here. The fact that they can just grind it out, and the Celtics team, as good as they've been playing, I watch every single Celtics game, as good as they've been playing, they don't always kind of break through that grind. Like sometimes the team will grind on them. Choice words in these videos today, but sometimes the team will grind them down, and all of a sudden the Celtics just give up. We haven't seen it lately, and that's great. We haven't seen that, but that has been sort of in the Celtics DNA for a couple years now, and that's sad because if this Heat team can do that to them, and we saw it in the regular season too, then we're going to have some trouble. Another thing I think that this Heat team does way better than the Celtics, and I'm just going to say it, it's not to knock Ime Udoka, the coach of the Celtics, but this coach of the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, I believe is the best coach in the league right now, and he seems to run circles around the Celtics when it comes to coaching. He's done it before, and I hope he doesn't do it again because I'm rooting for the Celtics in this one, but this Heat team, it seems like everybody is sleeping on them. The fact that, and I said I was going to mention it, the fact that the Celtics are minus 175 in this is kind of crazy, seeing as where the Heat were when the season ended. So, let's jump into some Celtics highlights, and then I'm going to give you guys, I guess, my overall take on where I stand with this series, but let's do it up. This was great to watch yesterday, though. You know, Jason Tatum being selfless, passing Grant Williams, hitting a million threes. Like, come on now. This Celtics team looked like they were championship bound in this one. And the defense is there, too. They're swarming Giannis and everything. It was great to see. Everyone thought Giannis was going to absolutely explode yesterday. He did what he could, but, you know, at the end of the day, Celtics were the better team by far. I love seeing Jason Tatum, you know, go for 46 in Game 6 and not feel the need to have to force anything in Game 7. It was great to see. Giannis went for 25 and 20. You know, people were saying you're going to guarantee 40 points out of him. 25 points. Such a good job against him. Maybe a little flopping, who cares, you know? Like, I think they actually reversed that call. Bobby Portis wasn't the factor I thought he was going to be either. I mean, this Celtics team really took a lot of key players out of this series for the Bucks. Grant Williams, man. Grant Williams. Whew. I've never liked Grant Williams, but he has proven me absolutely wrong in these playoffs. That is the annoying stuff that I'm talking about, those flops. It's like, come on. I get you're trying to draw the call. Jalen had some plays, too, where he needed to score a couple buckets in a row. He's mean mugging. It's just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They learned to play with each other. And then you have Grant Williams, a.k.a. Ray Allen, out here shooting the ball. Derek White had some clutch plays in this series as well. I mean, the Celtics team really, everything that they didn't necessarily have throughout the entire regular season all started to click at the end of the regular season and then started to click in the playoffs, sweeping those Brooklyn fakes. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah. Man, I respect Drew Holiday. That guy's a tough mother, you know what. Peyton. Watch how pumped Peyton Pritchard gets after this. Show the highlight. He starts going, that's what I do. Oh, I love seeing that. He made a couple. Ready? Dances on Drew Holiday, pulls back, boom, 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 boom. And Peyton Pritchard, he was kind of absent for the first part of this series, but he kind of shined through in Game 7 there. Huge momentum players there. But all right, let's get out of the highlights here, guys. In terms of this series, I've already touched on it. I think minus 175 for the Celtics is absolutely ridiculous. This Heat team is so good. Now, I will say, I'm thinking it's Celtics in 6 games. I think that they're just going to come in and smack them, but I'm a little bit biased towards the Celtics. But if the Celtics can play like they played in, you know, games, I guess you could say game 6, game 7, I want to say, though, if that Celtics team shows up, or if they play like they played in game 2 against the Bucks, there's not a team in the NBA that can compete with that. Even in the best of their games, when the Heat won, game 1, they won by, 21 points or something like that. And then that's a series one, right? Even when they had some of their best games in the playoffs thus far, whether it's against the Hawks or whether when they ended up taking on the Sixers, they never looked as good as the Celtics looked. Now, that doesn't mean that the lows were as low. Like the Heat had their lows too, but the Celtics, some of these runs against the Bucks, or that they allowed the Bucks to get on, absolutely killed them. Even in the game where they had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter and the Bucks came and absolutely just came back and won that game, I don't think the Heat ever looked that bad in the playoffs. So the Celtics have a little bit more of a variation or variety of the type of basketball they're going to play. Luckily, as of late, it's been more on this end, which is the good side, I guess. But the Heat are a way more consistent team. Maybe their highs aren't as high, but I'm a little bit worried about the consistency there. So really, I think that the Heat have the coach, they have the grind mentality, and then they have the consistency. Now, they might not have Kyle Lowry for much of this series, so that's going to be a benefit to the Celtics. But the Celtics overall, I think, have probably the better players. I get it. Jimmy Butler, when he gets going in the playoffs, he could be the best player in the series. But I truly believe it goes Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, probably in that order for the top players in this series. And if Robert Williams is healthy, I think that that's going to really help minimize Bam Adebayo's skills, I guess. We've seen him kind of struggle against guys that are like him, athletic, long, good defending sort of bigs. We've seen him struggle against himself almost in this postseason run for the Heat. So I'm going to take the Celtics in 6 games here. I would say, you know, my overall prediction would just be that the Celtics win this series, but I'm going to go 6 games just to go out on a limb a little bit. I think that this team is absolutely hitting their stride at the right moment. Hopefully they get healthy. Hopefully Robert Williams comes back. And I don't want to hope Kyle Lowry's out for the Heat because I wouldn't wish injury upon any team. In fact, I hate that the Celtics, you know, I don't hate it, but the fact that the Celtics beat the Bucks, but everyone on the Bucks team and a Bucks fan and in the NBA world can say, oh, but they didn't have Chris Middleton. It almost like, you know, it invalidates the Celtics series win. So I don't really like that because I think that Celtics team was playing so well that, yeah, Chris Middleton would have made it a different series, but I still think the Celtics take that series in 7 games. But, you know, the fact that, you know, some NBA fans are putting a little asterisk next to it, like, oh, they didn't have Chris Middleton. It's a huge deal, but I mean, the Celtics played damn good. So, you know, I don't want to hope that Kyle Lowry's out, but I do think that would obviously benefit the Celtics in this one. But I'm going to go with the Celtics in 6 games in this one. I think you're going to see a Jaylen Brown absolute come-out game at some point. That's kind of a hot prediction here because he struggled a little bit. He did have a couple big games. So far in this place, he's had a couple, but it's been a little bit since we've seen Jaylen Brown absolutely just take over a game in the playoffs, and he's good enough to do it. So I think that this Heat team is going to focus on Tatum, and you're going to see a big game out of Jaylen Brown in games 1 or 2 there. So I'm taking the Celtics in 6 games here. I think the Celtics are going to the NBA Finals, which is absolutely absurd to think about because I didn't think we'd be sitting here, you know, halfway through the year or when the Celtics were, I think, like a couple games below 500, or I remember when they were 25-25, and I'm like, this is just a 500 ball club. They stink, but here they are playing against the Miami Heat. I will say I do think that the Celtics take this series, but I do want to make it absolutely clear that I think some dummies out in the NBA world are absolutely sleeping on the Heat. The fact that yesterday's game hadn't even happened yet, and people are like, oh, it's either the Bucks or the Celtics going to the finals that are coming out of the East. It's like, come on, Miami's sitting there because they just dusted a team with 2 superstars in Joel Embiid and James Harden. Like, come on, let's give them a little bit of credit. They're well coached. They're pretty deep. If Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero kind of turn it on or turn it around and kill the Celtics like they have done in years past or even this year, then we're gonna have a lot of trouble here on our hands. But I'm gonna lean the Celtics in this one. I am a Celtics fan. Take that for what it's worth, but I'm going to lean Celtics taking this one in 6 games. I'm very excited for this series. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Hopefully you guys do like it. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you are new, and make sure to check out the other videos we got on the channel. We got the Western Conference Finals predictions coming out after this video, and then we'll also have the picks videos, the MLB picks videos on the channel today as well. Ethan going 7-1 last night in his MLB pick, so shout out there. We got a cheers and we got an applause. But guys, make sure to go check that out. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.